Dricus du Plessis is reportedly out, injured for UFC 317 against Khamzat Chimaev. This is sad. This is sad right here. This is probably this is probably the fight that we all wanted, and probably the only fight that we were gonna get. A lot of these champs have been really picky with their fights lately. I'm gonna talk about it later on in this video, but this hurts. Especially for all the plot armor fans of Dricus du Plessis, this hurts, man. I really wanted to see Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev, but what is going to replace the headliner for UFC 317? That is Khamzat Chimaev versus Borralho. They basically like verbally agreed. Like they literally went on each other's Instagrams. Like, Khamzat Chimaev posted a picture of him training with Borralho, and Borralho basically tagged Khamzat Chimaev and said, "Let's go." This was basically like gonna happen regardless. Imavov, what happened to Imavov, the #1 contender? Well, Imavov first ducked Borralho for the title shot eliminator. After the winner of Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis happened, Imavov ducked Borralho. He didn't want the fight. Then later on, it was reported in a video that Borralho was talking to DC, and he was basically telling him that was going to be the fight for International Fight Week. I don't know how they made that fight happen, but now, to save the card, because the UFC has been a disaster recently, they're making this fight right here happen. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this is gonna be a really good fight right here. But dude, it's been a disaster this year, dude, with the UFC just trying to scramble and make fights happen. Like, I'm pretty sure that Borralho versus Nasruddin Imavov was gonna be in the undercard to Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis, and if something happened, which something happened sadly, they had a replacement fight. But I'm pretty sure this is gonna be the fight right here. But it's just looking like International Fight Week is gonna be a super weak card, bro. Like, you're telling me this is gonna be the headliner? Vina Jandiroba versus Weili Zhang is probably gonna be the co-main event. Probably, or Manel Cap versus Brandon Royval co-main event. Like, what are we doing, UFC? Like, International Fight Week is supposed to be the heavy hitter card, and we're not getting any of the fights that we wanted. No Jon Jones versus Tom Aspenol, no Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, not even Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. I don't know what the UFC is doing right now, but I feel like they've gone soft, bro. They've gone soft, and they've let these fighters just fight on, bro. Like, they've let these fighters just walk all over them. And let's be honest right now, they let these fighters just walk all over them. But these two guys, Chimaev and Borralho, were talking on Twitter. Borralho saying that he's beating like 4 Russian guys, and he's not afraid to go beat Chimaev. Chimaev saying that Dricus du Plessis is ducking, even though that Chimaev probably has the most canceled fights out of any fighter in the UFC. But you know what? Like, we're supposed to let that slide, I guess. But this is the fight, I guess, for International Fight Week, the headliner. It's gonna be a fun fight, bro. I think I think they were gonna make this one regardless. They weren't gonna put Nasruddin Imavov. I think Borralho has way more hype, especially him being the leader of the Fighting Nerds. Imavov is on a crazy fight win streak, but you can't be ducking fights, bro. Like, the moment you start ducking a fight, the UFC is gonna look at you crazy. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened in this situation. After he ducked the Borralho, then they actually make the fight. The UFC just said, you know what, we're still gonna give it to Borralho because he actually wanted to fight you and you didn't. And Chimaev and Borralho just went at it on Twitter a little bit. calling each other out. And I'm pretty sure this is the fight that the UFC is going to make. This is the only fight that the UFC has a chance of making for a title fight, which is pretty sad. But we're going to talk about this right here, dude. What are we doing? Like, we were supposed to get these bangers right here. Bangers, bro. We were supposed to get Tom Aspenol versus Jon Jones, bro. DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev. Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. And we're not getting none of them. No movement on the Jon Jones versus Tom Aspenol fight. I don't know why the UFC has not forced this man to vacate the belt, bro. Bro, it feels so long that I could remember Tom Aspinall's last fight against Curtis Blades. It feels like years ago, and it really wasn't. Jon Jones last fought out in November against Old Man Stipe. What are we doing? This fight should have been made a long time ago, bro. A long time ago. And now you're telling me that Jon Jones needs 6 months extra to prepare for Tom Aspenol, so we might not even get this fight till like September? If the fight is made, because I don't think this fight's gonna made. If anything, the UFC is probably gonna scramble out a fight against Tom Aspenol versus Cyril Gane, and Tom Aspinall is gonna have to defend the interim belt again. That's what I see him doing. Because recently, I think Tom Aspenol said that there's fight news, and I think it's probably going to be him against Cyril Gane and him defending the belt, because Tom Aspenol, he's one of the most active champs. He likes to be active. Jon Jones doesn't. Dricus du Plessis sadly got injured, dude, and he's not going to be able to fight Khamzat Chimaev. And it's understandable, dude, because, dude, you're training for a guy who's going to take you down every single second of every round, bro. He's trying to take you down. He's trying to grab your neck. But yeah, it's sad that he got hurt. But Islam Makhachev's team not wanting the fight versus Ilia Topuria. What are we doing here? The UFC has gone soft, bro. The UFC has gone extremely soft. Like, why are they letting him be picky with who he wants to fight, bro? And it's crazy because Islam Makhachev has said multiple times, you can put anybody in front of me in this octagon and I will fight him. The moment Ilia Topuria moves up to lightweight to try and fight him, nah, I'm going to move up to welterweight, brother. I don't want that. I think he needs to fight somebody else. And I've seen a lot of people saying, yo, Ilia needs to fight somebody else. Bro, Ilia Topuria knocked out Volkanovski and Max Holloway. What else? What else does he have to do? Max Holloway is ranked 4th in the lightweight division, dude. He's ranked 4th in the lightweight division. Volkanovski just got his belt back, dude. Those wins mean something, dude. Like, and plus, if you look at Islam Makhachev's like championship resume, his only good wins are against Charles Oliveira, which he got the belt from, and Volkanovski. And the first fight against Volkanovski was really close. You could have gave that to Volkanovski. The second one, 10 days notice, dude. After that, Dustin Poirier, old man Dustin Poirier, that the UFC just gave him a title shot fight because they knew he was going to be done soon. He's going to retire. Armin fell out 24 hours notice. We know that the UFC said, yo, you're kicked back to the end of the line. But the fact that Armin still hasn't had a fight yet, that's crazy too. But Islam Makhachev goes out there in the first round and submits Renato Moicano, doesn't even get a scratch. And we're here wondering what's his next fight, bro. What's his next fight? And I don't want to see him fight Gaethje, bro. Yo, look at the comment section right here saying Gaethje versus Makhachev. Son, I do not want to see that fight. I do not want to see that fight, cuz make this fight against Ilia Topuria, or you make Makhachev stay until you make the Ilia Topuria versus Oliveira or Armin. I don't care. But dude, the UFC has gone super soft, and this year 2025 has been a disaster, bro. So many fights that we're supposed to get and we did not get. Tom Aspenol versus Jon Jones. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev now. Valentina Shevchenko versus Weili Zhang. If Valentina Shevchenko loses against Marin Fiorot, we're not getting that fight. Pantoja versus Merab. They rather see O'Malley fight Merab and get dominated 5 rounds again than see Pantoja move up to try and get the bantamweight belt against Merab, which I think is way better, dude. I don't know what the UFC is doing, bro. But you guys let me know in the comment section. This year has been a disaster for the UFC. I'm Jon Jones MMA, and I'm out.